Hi guys, Mary's here. Welcome to Maybach Games. Today we have something truly magical for you. We'll be exploring one of the most fascinating armies, the Thousand Sons. The Thousand Sons are known for their formidable sorcerers and their insatiable thirst of ancient knowledge, gathering ancient tomes and scrolls. This deep connection to the arcane arts manifests in the form of flames and a mastery of psychic powers. As you can see, the color palette of our miniatures leans towards the darker side. However, to make them truly pop, we've opted for bright bases and plenty of lightning effects. Additionally, our miniatures feature a lot of hoods, cloak and daggers, giving them that mysterious rogue-like appearance per our client's request. Moving on to an interesting aspect of our army, magnets. We've strategically placed magnets on some of our models, primarily on their wings. This not only prevents them from getting damaged, but also makes transporting the figures much easier. Arman, our Thousand Sons sorcerer, has two different bases that can be easily swapped thanks to magnets. Now let's talk about conversions we've done in our army. The Games Workshop models, while fantastic, sometimes have proportions that we wanted to improve. So we decided to use different models and 3D printed some accessories. Let's take a look at the examples of our conversions, starting with the Demon Prince of Tzeentch. For this mini, we used the Lionel Johnson's model, Exalted Sorcerer's torso, flame effects from the Epic Basing and parts of base from Bestiarium kit. The wings come from Indrasta Stormcast Eternal's model. For the Sorcerer in Terminator's armor, we used Abandon the Despoiler's body, a sword from the Exalted Sorcerer's kit, a ghostly book from Glukivnet, and some elements from Rubric Marine's kit. For the Exalted Sorcerer, we used the body from the Mephiston kit. We added fire effects designed by Epic Basing. The sword is straight from the Exalted Sorcerer's kit, and the spellbook were also sourced from the Epic Basing set. Additionally, we add some elements from the Rubric Marine's kit. Next, we have Thousand Sons Sorcerer. This model features the body of Azrael from the Dark Angels, ghostly skull ornament from My Mini Monster Mayhem. To give our sorcerer some flowing hair, we turn to the Horus Heresy Creator's kit. The Scarab Occult Sorcerer's body comes from the Librarian in Terminator's armor kit. The weapon from the Icon of Flame Thousand Sons. We incorporated fiery effects from the Epic Basing and a backpack from Exalted Sorcerer's kit. The hat was borrowed from the Khorne Deathbringer model. Now let's talk about Proxy Sorcerer on disc. Instead of the typical disc, we've given our sorcerer majestic wings. The body comes from the Bayard Revenge kit and weapons from the Exalted Sorcerer set. The wing were 3D printed from White Werewolf Tavern, and the cloak comes from Exalted Sorcerer's kit. For this model, we've used the Arman Thousand Sons kit as a base, and the head we've chosen comes from the Sanguinary Gods kit. Lastly, we have Exalted Sorcerer on disc of Tzeentch. The body comes from the Black Templar Castellan's kit. We used weapons from the Exalted Sorcerer set, spellbook from the Epic Basing, and the heads were provided by V-Beat Studios, adding the extra level of detail. Now let's turn our attention to the Rubric Marines in our Thousand Sons army. We've mixed kits, Rubric Marines and Source Brethren, and we've taken combat knives to give them distinct weaponry. Here we've mixed Scarab Terminators and Space Marines Terminators kits. We've taken cloaks from Great Tide Studios and hats from Vivid Studios. To add extra flair and detail, we've used decals from Games Workshop, Thousand Suns and World Bearers sets, as well as the Mighty Brush Chaotic Stars set. Looks nice, isn't it? I want to give a special shout out to Vivid Studios, who crafted a custom head for us. Now let's move on to the painting process. Let's start with an airbrush. Say hello to Nicola.
We begin the painting process by creating a color palette. Since the army is meant to be magical, we've chosen galactic colors, blues, turquoises and purples. The armor will be metallic and shiny, so we'll use the color shift paints. First, we start with priming the figure in black, because metallic paints look best on black base. Now the magic begins. Apply a layer of color shifter paint, bluish one, all over the mini. Add a second layer of color shifter paint, the green one, mainly on the highlights. Finish with a third layer of color shifter paint, pearly, only on the highlights. After these magical paints, apply silver metallic paint to create reflections. Next, we move on to inks. Apply them to the transitions between the previous colors to ensure a cohesive look and blend the colors smoothly. It makes a variety of colors on the reflections and boosts the color shift effect. Now, let's work on the cloak. Start with red-purple and cover the entire cloak. Now, add blue-violet to the highlights quite generously. Over the violets, apply teal blue color, making sure not to completely cover the previous one. Use white ink sparingly only in the areas you want to be the brightest.
Now Zofia will be painting the minis.
We start painting with acrylics using metallics. We apply a gold base and then darken the gold with colored acrylics in a small proportion to add shadows. To highlight, we use bright metallics like silver. Next, we move on to painting the flames. They have an unconventional shape, so to emphasize their three-dimensionality, we lighten the edges of the flames and the shapes closer to us, while keeping the ones further away darker. Remember to add highlights at the light source. The blade is metallic, so it reflects light. Don't forget to accentuate that. For the skin and parchments, we paint them in a purple-brown shade to keep them within the color palette. We apply a light dry brush with the brightest color to emphasize the fur. Since the scrolls are flat, we try to give them more depth while painting by adding stronger highlights.
Painting this army is primarily about working on details. The figures are small, with lots of decorations and small elements. Only the cloaks were large enough to be painted with oil paints. Since the elements painted with different techniques didn't overlap, we could paint them alternately. Barbara will be working on the cloaks.
While painting the coat, we add more colors from our palette. We want the coat to be very colorful. I paint shadows with thin paint and highlights with undiluted paint. The base is painted just like in our previous videos. I apply a wash to the base. White-green paint next to the light source, and I add a dry brush from highlights.
Before we continue with the painting, I'd like to invite your favorite Polish teacher, Paweł.
Hello dear students, welcome on our next lesson. A word for today is płaszcz. It means a cloak. I repeat, płaszcz.
What tips do you have for painting płaszcz? Let us know in the comments down below. And now let's hear from Zofia. She will be painting the wings.
The wings are inspired by Magnus's wings, which we painted in the previous video. First, we mix the base color and use it to cover the entire wings. Then we add highlights and shadows. We create a wash to emphasize the details. We lighten the tips of the feathers and add lines to them. Finally, we add a turquoise color between the feathers with thin lines. Remember not to use a single color, but darken it closer to wings interior and lighten it closer to the top.
And there you have it, the Thousand Suns Army. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked today's video, don't forget to press the like button, and if you're new and want to see more of our videos, don't forget to subscribe the channel and leave the comment down below with the word you learned today. See you next time!